Hey everyone, I am so excited for this episode. You can't be laughing already. It's my intro. Hey, okay, I'm so excited. Okay, it's ESB homecoming week. So we pretty much have everyone from all over back in the office. We're doing crazy stuff all over Memphis this week. But the best part about it is I have my partner in crime, Jennifer Lear, co-hosting with me in studio. For those of y'all who don't know, Jennifer Lear is phenomenal. Not only is she an agent at ESB, she's a professional game show contestant, and she's currently headlining at the Bellagio 3 nights a week with her current show. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my amazing co-host, Jennifer Lear.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Stephen.
You're
I'm
welcome.
not headlining at the Bellagio. People are going to be asking, when's your show? No, I do sing in Las Vegas, but not.
Well, it's a much better conversation starter
It
than
is very
something
cool.
else.
It is
It's
very
like,
cool.
I'm much like I told us like, no, I'm not headlining at the Bellagio.
I'm actually over at the Resorts World, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. No,
That's okay. You can plug your show if you want to. Do you want to plug your show really quick?
Yeah, no.
Plug your show.
I'm not doing a show in Las Vegas
anymore. Well,
you
it'll
might
come
be
back.
able to find me doing Marilyn Monroe on the side, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later too,
Okay.
and stuff like that. But anyways,
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Obviously, a lot of fun going on. Alex, as always, our amazing producers here. And Alex, hey, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, we're super excited. We've got Sebastian Terry, who's got one of the coolest nicknames ever, Seb. He just goes by Seb. You can call him Seb. But he's going to be on with us, and we're going to talk about him and his philanthropy and just kind of everything he does. So we're super excited about it. So without further ado, Sebastian Terry is originally from Australia. He currently lives in the States. He's founder of 100 Things Philanthropic Movement. He's an inspirational keynote speaker, best-selling author, and TV host. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Sebastian Terry.
Good day.
Hey, Seb. What's up, man?
Hey, Seb.
What an intro. That's fantastic. I've been on a game show too, actually, Jennifer, and I thought I recognized you.
Which game show?
Well, it was on my list. I've got this, as you know, a list of 100 things I'm trying to do. And I think it's number 35 was be on a TV game show. So in Australia, I applied for every single one and only one got back to me. And it was an awful dating show called Taken Out. And I mean, I could go into a longer story about it, but it was awful because
we've got time.
I was one person in the middle, and there was a semicircle of 30 women who basically, they all had lights behind them. And if they liked the look of me, they would turn their light off. They would leave their light on. Those who didn't would turn their lights off. And it was 3 awful, awkward rounds of that, followed by an even worse date. And, it's the first time I've spoken about it in years.
So of all those women, like how many dates did you go on? Just one date or with many dates of the women that were interested?
I'm not that kind of girl. I just went on one date and we're not together anymore. So, it didn't go fantastically well, but hey, it was filmed just to really capture the moment, and I can send you the link privately. It's
please, dear God, do it. We'll post it on our socials,
yeah,
Instagram,
I would love to see that.
LinkedIn. We'll post it on LinkedIn. How's that?
Man, of all the game shows you could have been on, you're on that. So that's not really because a game show is more like like having a strategy or a game of wit or a game of something like of your skill. So darn it, we need to get you another go at that one.
With the second round, they give you a quick. First round is pure. I don't say anything. They just purely, treat you like a piece of meat. And the second round, the host of the show, who I became friends with, says, Sebastian's got a list of 100 things he's trying to do to be happier in life. He goes around the world speaking about it. And he's also married a stranger in Las Vegas. Ladies, do you leave your light on or off? And there were quite a few lights that went off after they found out.
I mean,
I can only imagine.
He should have put in, it's like, he's no longer married.
Yeah, it was a one-day thing.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
That's kind of like saying, it's like, yeah, I'm on Tinder. My wife gives me advice on Tinder. So she doesn't. I'm not. That was a joke, Jennifer.
Oh, okay.
I'm not on Tinder. My wife doesn't give me Tinder advice. It was a joke. I was saying it was like the same thing.
Okay. Yes.
All right. We're going to move on from that. That's okay. That's okay. So the show's going to get better. I promise.
It is.
Okay, Seb. Okay. So let's talk about this. So did they tell you the date you had to go on, or did you just get to like make up
the show?
Yeah, for the show. Yes. Yeah. We're just like,
the show was called Taken Out. Ironically, it was taken off air very quickly because it was awful. But at the end of kind of the back and forth between all the women, I got to choose a girl. We went on a date. Immediately, it was a Thai massage date in Melbourne, Australia. And then after the date, I'm not great on dates anyway, but especially with cameras in your face, you can imagine.
Yeah, that's gotta be weird.
And then afterwards, they say, right, you have to go away. You're not allowed to talk to each other for 3 hours, and then you have to rendezvous, if you like the other person, at the top of the tallest tower in Melbourne called Eureka Tower. There's a bottle of champagne waiting on the table, but you're not allowed to talk and communicate whether you're going to go or not. So great TV is when one person shows up and the other person doesn't. And then I was never not going to turn up because I didn't want to do that to this poor girl. So I turned up. Thankfully, she turned up as well. We shared an on-screen kiss. And you know, and that was that. And I haven't revisited game show since.
Now,
I don't blame you.
we do need to talk about one of the darker moments of your life.
Yes, please. What are we talking here?
Why you didn't go on The Bachelorette in Australia?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, so
Seb, listen. My viewers are outraged at your decision and think you're really stupid and dumb.
We've been receiving mail about this.
Yes.
So you know.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, in a private conversation we were having, Jennifer, I mentioned to Stephen that I'm from Sydney, Manly Beach, Australia, and Manly is kind of, you know, it's a happening place, beautiful beach town, a lot of tourists, a lot of people, youths, and they often scout for people to be on those dating shows there, including The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or whatever. And I shared with our good friend Stephen here, who has broken our code of silence.
Hey, you didn't say, like I said.
Yeah. Well, I got approached to be on the show and I turned it down. Yeah, that's true.
Why would you do that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't really watch TV, but I've seen that, and it just I feel like I have to go to the bathroom afterwards and
wash your hair and take a shower.
Yeah, I just feel dirty. I just, you know, I actually think I said to you, Stephen, that reality TV and all that stuff is just it doesn't really align with my values. Maybe that's too big a statement, but it just felt dirty. And then, of course, the irony is I then had my own reality show, which I learned a lot about that as well. But I'm glad I did that one, not The Bachelor. But I know you were disappointed, so maybe I should.
Yes, incredibly.
I'm actually glad that you did that too. So the fact that you had your own reality show really, I think, led the integrity to that, right? After not being like, oh, he just wants to be on TV, so he's going to be doing this and this and this, which I think is wonderful. Tell us a little about your reality show that you did.
Well, again, based off this whole idea, you know, as you know, my story started off with loss in my life. I lost a friend. I realized I was unhappy. So I put together a list of things that I hoped would make me smile more. It's a very selfish endeavor at first, but very quickly it lended itself to the ears of many people around the world. And a lot of people started creating their own lists. People felt inspired to start their lists or compelled to help me. And it generated this very organic community around the world. Fast forward 13 years now, and I found that, sure, I've checked off many things from my list, but the best part is that we've been able to help other people, support other people in identifying and achieving their own goals. So very proud to say, I've done many things that have helped other people. First time I ever helped anyone was pushing a guy called Mark in his wheelchair so that he could complete his goal of achieving a half marathon. It's one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. And I actually share that in my keynote. It's
and you've got amazing video of that, which, I mean, it's very powerful and really moving.
Yeah, for so many reasons too. Mark was able-bodied and actually got bitten by a tick in his mid-20s and got Lyme disease. And that transformed, you know, his life. Ultimately, he can't speak, he can't move, of course. And anyway, it was one of the greatest things I've ever done. And from that moment, you know, Mark's an inspiration. He is proof that, you know, if you protect your goals and you're committed to them, you can achieve anything. And then for me, I'd never helped anyone. And that was a trend that I'm very happy to say I kept up with. So I've done many things, you know, to help people. And that was turned into a reality show. So were you
able to capture everything that you did? So of your list of 100, were you able to capture those moments and the experiences through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got, you know, incredible footage and photos and, you know, a book that outlines a lot of the stuff, but it was never meant to be that in the first place. It was a very personal journey and it accidentally became popular. I never thought I'd be, you know, on this podcast or speaking or have a show I never thought any of that. But now I see the value in it. Of course, you know, it's changed lives. It's saved lives. You know, I'll often get emails from people sharing the most secretive, dark things. But with the end of, and I'm now living a fantastic life because I have a list, or, you know, you and your team or you and your community have helped me. It turns out that if you're able to create a like-minded community of people who are all setting goals, striving for goals, but sharing goals, you open up endless opportunities for helping and collaboration and connection. And we've just seen that strangers around the world have all connected with each other based on similar goals. So that's a wonderful thing. And that's what the show was. So there was a US war vet who lost a leg in war. He had a dream of learning how to ski, but gave up on that. But we heard about that. And two strangers in the community helped him learn to ski.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the show, there's 26 episodes. It was a phenomenal experience for me. I'm not a TV host, or certainly I wasn't, but I got flown around the US and into Europe, filming all these wonderful things, helping people, and that's why I exist today. I absolutely love it.
So I got a question. So whenever you started your list, was it an organic list? Like, hey, I just want to write out all the things. Or were you like, I'm gonna have a goal, start at 50, and then it grew to 100? So which way did it start?
Well, I just started. Not to go back to sort of a darker place, but I was in Canada. It was the middle of the night. I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Sydney. He broke the news that one of my closest childhood friends had passed. And then in that moment, I sat down and just reflected on my life and realized, oh, if I died today, I would regret everything. I don't think my friend would have. I don't think he would have changed anything. I realized that I would. So that was the beginning of a list. It didn't mean to be 100 things. It just ended up being round about 100 things. And I just thought, well, that's a nice number. But there were blanks on there too. So I thought I'll learn about these things as we go along. So, I should also say that I think lists change as we do, as individuals or families or businesses, as you know. Goals change, and they need to keep up with the change. So yeah, it was just, there were 100 things. As soon as it was committed to a book, obviously they're there written down, but we can change them, of course. But it ended up being, I think a set of goals is so important because it gives you a North Star. It allows you to create meaningful, personally relevant goals, which you can commit to over a period of time to help you grow and connect. And it represents every aspect of your life, in the workplace, out of the workplace, selfish things, selfless things. So yeah, no, I'm very committed to them. At one point, I literally, before this became a thing, I just had a map and a backpack. And on the map were my 100 tags. And I would be in the US, for example, and go, oh, okay, I want to visit an inmate on death row. And so I would just commit all my energy to that and do that. And then when that was done, I would say, I want to do this thing over here. And so it was sort of like a blueprint to happiness and physically what I did and how I traveled,
Did it evolve? Did you know exactly at that age, like, I want to do all these things? Or did it evolve over time? Like, okay, I'm going to start with these 10, 20 things and then, and add to my list as you went?
It did evolve. It did evolve, but at the time I didn't really know how or what the mechanism was.
Right.
I think a meaningful list for anyone or any business or any family or community is based upon a thorough understanding of the core aspects / values that you hold. And again, I think over time that changes. When I first started 13 and a bit years ago, a lot of my goals were about adrenaline seeking, getting out there, liberation, freedom, adventure. I was skydiving naked. I was walking across a country. I was doing all these things. Now, 13 years on, I don't feel I need to do that anymore. And I much rather this idea of connection and deepening relationships and mastering things. And so, yeah, the list has evolved for me like that. And of course, you get on a plane and they will say an oxygen mask will fall down in case of an emergency, put it on first, then help others. So the first part of my list was all about me. And now it's absolutely about other people. So it's evolved in that sense.
Well, I love how you saw that, how you experienced it. And you're like, oh my God, this is really creating something different. I mean, it just turned into a whole nother, it turned into something bigger than you realized, right? And so then you also saw what it did for people and community and connection, and saw the enormity of what this could be. And then of course you grew as a person, and then you saw what was possible. I think that's what the most intriguing things about you and the speaking business on the side is, on the side of what you go in and talk to organizations about is what it does for teams and culture.
Yeah, well, I certainly have seen over with 100 things, which is now turned into sort of a big global platform, I suppose. But we've seen it, firsthand, and I've seen it with companies I've worked with. We see that individual growth in a like-minded community, with everyone looking at their own individual growth, it leads naturally, organically, powerfully towards collective evolution and transformation. If we're able to cultivate these communities where everyone is thinking about the things that are important to them, they then start to see how they can be important to other people. And so, it sounds so cliche, but I do believe that, individual success it shouldn't be looked at as the number of things that we do alone. I think it should be measured by the number of things we do together as well. I'm sure it's for you guys at executive speakers and for everyone watching who may be within their own company, etc. It's true. It's very important to think about ourselves. It's not selfish. It's selfless ultimately, and it's a very healthy and needed first step. But ultimately, if I look back at my list, there was perhaps a point at the beginning that I thought, oh, I'm pretty special. That's why I'm doing all of this. So silly. Of course, what I've learned retrospectively is that most of the things on my list have been achieved, small goals and big goals, because of other people. In our community now, we're seeing that someone has, they're in the process of donating an organ, a kidney, to somebody else in the community. Complete strangers. It is absurd that we've activated these sort of acts of kindness, if you will, in the US and beyond, thanks to strangers. We relocated a family from Salem, Oregon to Colorado Springs, Colorado, thanks to 30 strangers who unpacked a house. 2 people drove 22 hours in a van that they rented.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And there are so many examples, and certainly post-COVID. At the moment, as you guys know, again, all the briefs that I'm getting are all around coming back together, creating the future, a community driving progress, etc. And it's just so true. It's so, if we're all in the same boat together, it's a better boat. We go further, we go faster. So there is something to it. Again, it might sound cliche, but that's just what I'm finding,
So on your original list, whenever you wrote it out, what was the one thing you're like, I'll never do it, and then you've done it?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm an optimist, and I always thought I would do them all. I haven't yet.
Oh God, that's a cop out.
It's true. That's
a cop out.
I knew I do it all.
Yeah.
Well, that's just how I think. I think, and not because it's me. I think anyone's capable of doing anything. If you chose one thing, look, there are things that I will never be the fastest runner in the world. Of course, there are those types of things. But outside of that, this is what happened for me. I had a business, an unsuccessful business. It worked. We paid it off, but it wasn't this thing. And I remember thinking, and this is kind of this catalyst moment for me when I had the list, that I had my map up on the wall. I had 100 tags on it. And I remember putting all my energy into work, but I was dreadfully unhappy. And I thought, well, I kept looking up at this map and thinking, imagine if I put all this attention and energy and resource that I'm putting into my work, but into that map, what would happen? And I thought, oh, I'd be happy. That nothing would stop me. And, you start with one thing. And so I do believe that, to both of you and to anyone listening and myself, because I have to keep reminding myself, if you dropped everything in your life and focused on that one thing that was vitally important, whatever it was for you, because it's a relative concept, whatever that goal is, you'd be able to do it. It's this radical accountability. It's, an understanding of self plus action. We'd all be able to do anything. So, but to answer the question in a funny way, I don't know. Delivering a baby seemed far-fetched. But that happened.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. I could.
Yeah, the best part about that, by the way, I delivered the baby of a complete stranger on invitation in a town in Canada called Regina, which is the funniest thing I say in my talk.
Quite ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do an Olympic ski jump. I haven't done that yet. That's going to end in tears, no doubt.
So there are things you haven't done yet on your list.
Oh yeah, I've done 76 things. It's slowed. My personal list has slowed down because I've just been helping other people.
Right.
Yeah, but you have to look after yourself and others, and it has to happen at the same time. So now I'm starting to balance it better as well.
So what's next on your list?
Yeah, that's
I'm doing 3 right now, which are maybe not the most exciting things ever, but I'm trying to learn French, which is ongoing. I just got back from France actually, where I annoyed many people with awful French. I am trying to learn a classical piano piece. I can't play the piano. I don't know one key on a keyboard.
These are kind of like long-term, like that. Those are long-term things.
Yeah, this one. There are so many different types of goals. There's mastery goals, which are long-term. There's performance-based goals, such as bungee jumping. You don't have to train necessarily. You just go and do it. So it's important, when you look at the goal-setting process, what your goals are. And it's good to understand these things as we look to actually put energy behind them and plan them. But just a funny story with the piano. I don't know how to play piano, so I'm learning off a YouTube video, and the keys on the piano light up. And so I have, for 18 months, been practicing where to put each finger based on the screen. So I'm 2 minutes. I'm 2 minutes now into Claire de Lune. Do you know that piano piece?
I do.
I don't know it.
Oh my goodness.
Stephen, you do know it. Don't pretend. You don't have to play
Okay.
that hard line all the time. If you heard it, you'd be like, oh, that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
you know exactly what it is.
So I'm 2 minutes in, and if I was to play it now, you'd think, oh my God, this guy is talented. I don't know what I'm playing. But anyway,
Love it.
There's
That's
that.
impressive though. Okay, and the third thing is
Third thing I'm working on is a script. I'm writing a script, and I've always
Play, movie, what?
It'll be a episodic TV show, and the other thing is, regardless of whether it makes
Starring yourself.
Of course. No, I'd love to be in there. That would be fun. Another item on my list is to have one line in a movie. So maybe I could put myself into my own show if it went that way. In fact, I would demand it. It.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a good demand. If
I
it's
like
your
that.
show, it's like I get one line.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, I'm currently working on that, and it's funny, because it's a very personal thing, and my list is very important to me because I think these lists make us feel good. Because we're all the same. We want to feel a sense of purpose and meaning in our life, and you can find that through meaningful goal setting. And there's 8 steps to it, as I would teach, I suppose. Not to sound all high and mighty, as I would teach, but you know what I mean. And then I think you're able to. Yeah, and if you're able to commit to that over time, you grow. We grow, and that sort of forms that sense of connection with yourself and others eventually. So I'm always on my list, but of course this has turned into this kind of like a business as well in one sense. And not that I've ever looked at it like this, but the speaking, I'm very fortunate to work with you guys to speak to many clients, and it's great. And so that takes resource and time and energy, and thankfully I absolutely love it. So it's balancing, as we all have in our life, many aspects to it: business, emotional, personal achievement, helping others, key relationships, etc. So I'm just having a ball. I'm really enjoying it, and I've been in America for 5 years now, and here I am.
And how are you liking that? Because I know you're in Venice Beach, California, right?
Yeah, Venice Beach. It's. I mean, as I look out the window, I can see the faint horizon of the ocean. I can see 3 homeless people. I can see. Which is wonderful. I can see some large, expensive houses over there. This isn't one of them. It's just so I enjoy Venice because of the difference and the variety and the color of it. So it's
a lot of
really
color
good.
there, a lot of
Yes,
entertainment there in Venice Beach.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a helicopter circling my place last night. I don't know why. But it probably wasn't for a good reason. But yeah, no, I like it. I love it here actually. One interesting thing about America, which is any Australians listening will probably say the same thing. But Australia is wonderful. I love it, of course. It's home, but it's also not that sort of expansive. I feel that, not to talk badly of Australia, so I'll only talk about America, but here it's so collaborative. People are really looking to support one another. I mean, you guys invited me on here. Thank you. What a wonderful opportunity for maybe this helps somebody, who knows? But we're all here to help each other out. And I think, from an events point of view as well, there are so many more events. The market is so much bigger. And there's a real emphasis put on motivating, inspiring, and trying to create long-term change in staff, which is, coming out of COVID, such an important thing as we look at, disconnection, lack of motivation, lack of connection to each other. So I just think the US is phenomenal in the idea that everyone is trying to do something positive for themselves, which is fine, and for other people. And it's really lovely to be in that space.
So if somebody's listening to you and seeing you for the first time here, or seeing you elsewhere, and they go, I'd love to do that, but I'm just so scared to step out of my box. What would you say to them? And how do you help people overcome that fear of fear of the unknown, or fear of stepping out and taking a chance?
Yeah, well, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
There's what a great place to be. It's a really important place to be. There's an assumption that because of the things that I've done, I've managed to eradicate fear from my life. And of course, that's not true. It's actually more a case of processing it differently. I mean, we all know that feeling when you're just on the precipice of action and you become apprehensive, you're full of self-doubt, trepidation, and physically, you start sweating, or your heart rate rises, whatever it might be. And that step is directly from comfort into discomfort. It's out of that comfort zone. And the truth is, and on every single occasion, for anyone listening who's worried about what might happen next, you have to relinquish control of the external factors. You step into the darkness, you won't know what's around the corner. Nobody does. No one ever does, especially that first step. But it's there, surrounded by discomfort, that you truly kind of figure out where your edges are. You get to, you're gifted with this wonderful opportunity to actually build resilience, to navigate adversity, to perform under pressure, let's say. And every single time we find that we far outperform our expectations, because we just, as a default, unfortunately, as humans, we don't think we're that good. We don't give ourselves enough credit. But yeah, it's that unknown really is this sort of gateway to progress, because we come back and we've just grown a little bit, even just a little bit. It doesn't even matter what happens. If the result is successful or unsuccessful, the real win is just stepping. So for anyone out there who has a thought that there is something on a micro or macro level that is maybe going to be good for them, maybe improve their life in one way or another, in or out of the workplace, go for it. Go for it. And feedback is also this really interesting thing. We're so scared of failing. It's such a wonderful thing to fail at times, because you can learn. So of course I'm in the habit now of just throwing myself at things. I'm not really attached to the outcome, but I do find that I learn and I grow, and eventually I get there. So I actually shared this funny video in my talk where I want to kiss a celebrity. It's on my list. I'm surely that's on your list too.
Has to be.
Yeah, it's on most people's list.
Any celebrity?
Any celebrity is just celebrity. And second question, follow-up question, how do you define celebrity?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Someone who's known.
Okay, someone who's known.
I didn't care who it was, and so I did it years ago. The only reason I bring it up is because it's quite a funny. It just kind of depicts exactly what we're talking about, the comfort zone, and it's a silly, superficial goal. I get that, but for the purpose of the principle of it, I gave a talk in Australia. Sharon Osbourne was speaking.
You kissed Sharon Osbourne?
Gosh.
Yes. Yeah. But the way it happened was quite funny. I was
Wasn't who I was imagining.
Lord.
I was doing a keynote close. She was speaking before me. She was doing an interview actually, and I got really nervous, of course. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I ran to the event organizer. I said, do you mind if I ask Sharon for a kiss? And the event organizer, who's paying me to be there, understandably says, of course not. So I say, I'm going to do it anyway. So I sit down in my, Stephen, I know you would have done the same thing. So I sat down in the seat and I said, right, how do I communicate this to her? And of course, the whole time I'm full of dread. I'm going to fail. I'm going to look so stupid. People are going to judge me, failure, ego, da, da, da. And she had a Q&A, and she said, there's a microphone going around the room if anyone has a question. And I was so scared. I was sweating profusely. I put my hand in the air. I got given a microphone, and I've got the video. I should have really prepared it for this, but I show it in the talk. And I say nervously, hi, Sharon, my name's Sebastian. I've got a list of 100 things. On there is to kiss a celebrity. Would you be open to the idea? Everyone around me starts laughing. She says, get your ass on stage. Nice. I don't know what's happening at this point. I'm in another world. I walk down onto the stage. Long story short, I'm obviously nervous. I don't quite know what's going to happen. So I just think if I put my head at her face level and I just walk over to her, I sort of waddled across the stage like a duck. I'll just let her do whatever she wants to do. And she grabbed my face and stuck her tongue down my throat and bit my lip, and we kissed. Now, again, it's that in itself doesn't change the world. It's not particularly motivating, but it does speak to that point of it's really important when we sort of posture ourselves to do something that even in the face of nervousness and apprehension, self-doubt, and all those things, just to take a step, because you never know what's going to happen. And more often than not, we, again, outperform our expectations.
At least you led with, hey, I've got a list of 100 things,
right?
Not just, hey, can I come kiss you?
Yeah, exactly right. Like, yeah, you led into it. Well, have you found that people really want to help? Like people genuinely really want to help other people. Do you feel like that's what you found?
Oh, I mean, unequivocally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. We're all here to help each other out.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think innately we're wired. Innately we have the ability to be of service to other people, but oftentimes we just don't know how because we don't actually have conversations about what's important to each other. I would love to help both of you out with a particular goal you have. However, currently, I don't know what those goals are, so I don't know how to. If I tell you, I mean, what I saw with my list, I had my list. There were meaningful things. I shared it on a website. I was inundated with people around the world who wanted to help me out. If you stand up, I call it as we teach it in these 8 steps, part of step 7, which is called the trigger, after you create an action plan, is to share your goal in a confident, not arrogant, needy way, in a confident way with a select group of people. Because if you imagine being with the closest people in your life and you stand up and you say, hey, everyone, I want to make a birthday cake for my son. I just don't know how to make a birthday cake. Can anyone help? How many of your close friends do you think would say, of course I'll help?
Right.
All of them. And it happens every single time. So sometimes I think we can, if you look at the media, you look at the news, it'd be very easy to believe that the world is bad. It's not, because people generally are good. They just need the opportunity. There's a fantastic example. I haven't spoken about this in years, but it's just popped up in my head. A girl called Sarah Merton in Australia contacted me years ago. And unfortunately, Sarah was, she was mid or early 20s and had been diagnosed with bowel cancer, which is very rare. And it's not a good one to get. Anyway, she shared her list with me and she said, I don't have long left, but here's a list. And I said, I'd love to help. So I shared it with our community. The Australian media found out about this story. They shared it nationally. And Sarah, within 2 days, had been offered to do everything from her list.
Wow.
She wanted to read a book from front cover to back cover in a boat whilst floating in a lake. So a farmer who had a boat and a lake said, if you come to my farm, you can do that. So she did that. So she wanted to see shooting stars under the, in the sky in Africa. And so a guy, a complete stranger, called her up, had her details, flew her and her boyfriend first class to Dubai, I think, and then organized a tour into the desert. Now, Sarah managed to do quite a few things from her list before she quite quickly passed. And her parents invited me to her funeral, to which, of course, I went. And I was blown away. They saved a seat in the front row for me. And we did have a conversation about how good people are. We all have the opportunity to make a significant change in our lives for ourselves and for others. And oftentimes it starts with just wondering that question, pondering that question. What's on your list? What's on your list? There's a book written by Bronnie Ware, an Australian palliative care nurse, who, of course, looks after people at end of life before they pass. And she wrote a book called Regrets of the Dying. And there are 5 points in this book, the 5 most common regrets of the dying. Now, number 1 is, I wish I'd lived a life true to myself, not one others expected of me. Number 2 was, I wish I'd worked less. I don't really share that one on stage, by the way. Number 3, number 3 is, I wish I'd let myself be happier. Number 4 was, I wish I'd expressed myself more. And number 5 was, I wish I'd stayed connected to loved ones more often. And if anyone, cares to read that book, they should. It's fascinating. But I mean, I often think about this. Imagine being on your deathbed and you're blessed with a moment to reflect on your life. And you look back and you think, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. Could you think of anything worse? And in order to be able to answer differently and say, well, I don't want to be going, but my gosh, I had a great life.
Right.
That happens today. Our futures as individuals, as families, as businesses will be entirely shaped by the goals we set today and the goals that we choose to take action upon today. That's the truth of it. And I know that because it's happened to me and I've seen it happen to many people.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Seb, you ready to play a game? See how smart you are? Alex, you ready for 3 random things, for 3 random questions? All right, so here's the deal. Jennifer, this is the first time you get to experience this as well too. Okay, so it's a game called three random questions.
Right.
I'm gonna ask you 3 random questions. Actually, we're doing 4 today in honor of Jennifer Lear being here. So it's gonna be 4 random questions. All right.
All 4 questions. Okay.
No, you're fine, because we're gonna talk about Australia since you're from there. So you're gonna know all of these and get 4 out of 4 and be really, really smart.
Okay, great. I love this.
All right, you ready?
Randy. Yes.
Okay. Question number 1, and this is multiple choice. Okay. How big is the Australian Outback in kilometers? How big is the Australian Outback in kilometers? All right. Is it A, 5 million kilometers, B, 10.4 million, C, 2.3, or D, 5.6?
Oh my God. B. Very clearly B.
Very clearly wrong. It's 5.6. Okay. So this is crazy, Jennifer Lear. Listen to this. Okay. So it's 5.6 kilometers squared, covering more than 70% of the Australian continent. By way of comparison, it would encompass more than half of the United States and Europe. Wow. Did you know that, Seb?
I did not know that. I did not. I on my list, I rode a scooter, a 100cc scooter across the middle of Australia. It took me 7 days. And I broke down on the world's longest straight bit of road. It's 91 miles. So all I can say is it seemed big. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't dispute that. All right. So next question about soccer. or football, as y'all call it down there, or whatever it is. World Cup this year. What was Australia's men's national team best finish in the World Cup?
I believe, Stephen, I wish I had a buzzer. I believe it was the quarterfinals, and we lost to Italy because one of their players dived in the box in the last minute of extra time. I think we were 1-1, and they got a penalty and beat us. So I think it was quarterfinals.
What year?
I'm awful with this. When is it? Is it this year? Is it the World Cup this year? Soccer World Cup?
The World Cup's this year, but yeah, what year? What year are you talking about?
2006.
Wow. You just destroyed that one. That was amazing. You got it.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Devastating day.
Okay, third question. What year did Australia gain its independence from England?
Oh gosh, I think it's like kind of like 200 years ago ish. I feel. Oh no, that face isn't a good face. 100 years ago.
I didn't say anything, but
oh gosh. Okay. Let's go for 1902.
So close.
So close.
January 1st, 1901.
Oh my gosh. I
But
didn't
you
count
really,
the
that's close.
the
That's
leap
close.
year. It was the leap year. That
The leap year.
Yeah.
Okay, bonus question time. What is the most popular dish at Outback Steakhouse?
Oh, well, I've got a few issues with Outback Steakhouse.
Uh-oh.
I've eaten there once and nothing in there is Australian. No one's ever heard of a bloomin' onion, by the way. I don't know if that's the answer. Like no Australians know what that is.
That was something created by somebody in America that thought, hey, that was really cool. We can
It's
do
like
this.
Mexican food in the United States.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly right.
I don't know. Is there like a surf and turf option there?
no, it was a trick question because I wanted to see your response
But
when I said
that's-
Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I had bloomin' onion, so you said bloomin' onion, so we'll give it to you. So you got 2 out of 4 questions.
Imagine if Outback Steakhouse was a potential client looking to engage an Australian speaker, and I say, I've got a bone to pick with those guys.
Yeah.
I take that back.
Oh, Lord. Well, listen, Seb, man, thanks so much for your time. It's been phenomenal just getting to hang out with you and chat and learn about your list. For more information on Seb, go to our website, www.executivespeakers.com. You can get bio photos as well as speech topics. And Seb, man, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Jennifer Lear.
What? Yeah, I love how he says my name in completion, like Jennifer Lear.
Because
Jennifer.
that's what's in the headlines.
Thank you.
Whenever you're a
Thank you
headliner
so
in
much.
Vegas, it's Jennifer Lear.
I really didn't do much, but it was so fun to
What do
be
you mean you didn't do
here.
much?
I feel
Oh my gosh, you did
I love
phenomenal.
just being here with you and doing
Oh,
this.
it's so
This is
fun.
so fun. Thanks, Seb.
Please
This
come
is
back.
awesome. I
Seb,
would love to
awesome,
come
man.
back.
Thanks, Steve. And thanks, Jennifer. You're wonderful. And thank you for including me.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Bye.